You poser. You imposter. You fake. You call yourself a woodworker? Really? My grandmother is a better woodworker than you are. Hi, my name's Roger Kugler. This is Working at Woodworking Podcast number 68. Are you a woodworking impostor? Have you ever heard this before? No? Never? You have never doubted if you are a real woodworker or that you are a professional woodworker. Really? I don't think so. And I bet if you think real hard, the sound of that voice is your own. I got an email from Valentine in France who asked about this question, and we'll take a deep dive into this. Kind of goes along with the last episode. I heard this term for the first time probably in the maybe late 90s. I was real into whitewater kayaking and, you're just a poser. And, well, yeah, thinking back, I probably was. I was trying to be a whitewater kayaker and not having a whole bunch of success. But that term poser, the imposter, sometimes that has a different meaning than what we might think it means. If we look on Mr. Google, as we do with anything that we don't understand, we find that imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomena or imposterism, is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. That comes from Mr. Wikipedia. Psychology Today adds, people who struggle with imposter syndrome believe that they are undeserving of their achievements and the high esteem in which they are, in fact, generally held. They feel that they aren't as competent or intelligent as others might think, and that soon enough, people will discover the truth about them. Those with imposter syndrome are often well accomplished. They may hold high office or have numerous academic degrees. Psychology Today, not me. Where did this come from? Well, it's always good to find the origin of something, and this surprised me. It turns out, isn't the internet cool? You can find out like anything. Psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Ems developed the concept originally termed imposter phenomenon in their 1978 founding study, which focused on high-achieving women. That comes from the Harvard Business Review. Very interesting. If you were, sucking air back in the 70s, you kind of have a context here. So why are we talking about this? Well, this might be you. This definitely was me. Specifically, this is about the email from Valentine. And Valentine is in his latter 20s. He says he has no formal training in woodworking. Who does? He gets most of his information from YouTube and the internet. Yeah, okay. And his own experimentations. Well done, Valentine. You've heard me preach this over and over. Repetition, repetition, repetition. If you do more reps than the other guy, guess what? You're going to probably be a lot better at hand-cut dovetails than the other guy. He has a good job that he enjoys. He's doing this kind of on the side, but he wants to take it to the next level. He writes, listening to your podcast is a great help. I was able to niche down on what I'll work on. I found a name, a logo. I bought a .com domain name, which I'll use later as I tackle the website building. But here's the thing. While I believe that it is possible to succeed even if self-taught, I can't help but feel a lot of imposter syndrome. Okay, lesson learned. Set the phone to silence. But here's the thing. While I believe that it is possible to succeed even if self-taught, I can't help but to feel a lot of imposter syndrome, or at least a profound illegitimacy when I think about my project. The challenge seems all too overwhelming, and sometimes the more I think about it, the more I feel uncertain about my skills, choices, finances, etc. I think about hundreds of reasons why it won't work. So I guess this is not so much a question, but more of a discussion starter. If you want to give your Woodworkers philosophy episode a follow-up, I'd be down to hear your take on the subject. He goes on and explains that he's really gotten into high-end furniture. Custom furniture, studio furniture is the term some people would ascribe to this. Using hand tools in the traditional Japanese, Chinese, and Korean joinery techniques, except for milling and material preparation. Good for you. Nobody needs to be doing that by hand. And he included a link to his Instagram account, which I'll share in the show notes. I took a look at that and wow. I was kind of going one way in my brain in how to respond to this, and then I saw his work, and I really had to kind of rethink that because it's gorgeous. I mean, well done. In any case, keep up the good work and good vibe. Love the puns and knowledge you bring to the table. Thank you very much. I appreciate that more than you probably know. Okay, deep dive. Imposter syndrome. I'm no psychologist. The closest I've ever gotten is to be a boxologist. But my 2 cents, and that's exactly what it's worth. Yeah, welcome to the world. Self-doubt. I mean, everybody goes through this. It could be in the 3rd grade whenever you have to do multiplication tables. It could be, high school whenever you have to deliver your lines in the high school play. It could be college entrance exams. It could be your college final exams. We have self-doubt. We're human. How we deal with that is the real important thing. And when we say imposter syndrome, we're kind of inferring that imposter. Someone is an imposter if they're trying to deceive someone. Bernie Madoff, the Ponzi scheme, that was an intentional deception. Imposter syndrome, I don't think has anything to do with deception or fraud. It is simply the way we are feeling about ourselves. Specifically from your email, 2 things. Number 1, I think you're thinking too much, quite frankly, which kind of goes along with number 2, you're in your 20s. Sorry. The 20s are probably the roughest decade in most people's lives. We don't remember that much about the first decade, that birthing thing and walking and, potty training. We mercifully kind of forget about that. The teens are rough, especially whenever you're in junior high. I don't care who you are, hormones, you smell, you're a perfectly rational human, at 1 o'clock, and by 3 o'clock, you're some crazed, zombie creature. Those are rough years. But the 20s, I think, thinking back, those are really rough years. Because for one thing, all of our family, our friends, our schoolmates, that's all kind of dispersed. And quite frankly, the only one we have to talk to is ourselves. And yeah, that doesn't go well sometimes. Yeah, just thinking back, whoa, There is no way I would go back to the 20s. Now, I had great experiences in the 20s, life-changing experiences. But, in the back of the little head, that little voice, you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not this or that, fill in the blank. That's our brain doing that. I must say that the 30s will be better. The 40s will be really good. The 50s will be real good. I've just started into the 60s. So far, so good, knock on particle board. And here's the real deal. The only person who can make you feel like an imposter is you. I can't make you feel like an imposter. Frank Klaus can't make you feel like an imposter. Those words could come out of our mouths, but the only person who can take that, internalize it, and turn it into, I'm an imposter, is you. And if you don't allow yourself to do that, that is the way I have dealt that. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, you're an imposter. It's never happened. And probably for you, it's never happened either. We may imagine it. We might show somebody something and they just give us a, what does that mean? Well, immediately our brain starts to fill in the worst case scenario and boom, you're into imposter syndrome. Don't go down that road. What we take in and think about is what comes out of us. So if you don't take it in, it's not going to come out. If someone does say this out loud, they're not trying to make you feel like an imposter. They're just downright insulting you. And take it as an insult. An insult doesn't lead to imposter syndrome. And that tells more about the person who actually said that than what it tells about you. Because people do that type of thing for a number of different reasons. They're almost always selfish reasons. So we'll talk about that in a minute. If somebody says something like that, listen to it, evaluate it. If there's any merit at all, learn from it. But 99% of the time, it's trash, and that's what you do with it. You just throw it into the trash. But literally, no one has ever come up to me and said, you're an awful woodworker. If someone says they're a woodworker and they say that to you, I don't think they're a real woodworker. And besides, if someone should actually come up and say that to you, Valentine, that you're an imposter, just point at those gorgeous nightstands that you made and say, really? Really? Let me see your nightstands. Because those things are just 100% beautiful. Now, Valentine has a lot of things going for him. Number one, did I mention he's in his 20s? Oh my gosh, you have so much time to learn and to develop your skills. And if you're doing this type of work in your 20s, I can't wait to see what you're doing in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s. I mean, you are off to a wonderful start. Keep that up. You may see your age as a detriment. It's really not. I know that your 20s are really, really hard. The 30s will come, and generally I think the 30s are better. Each decade of my life has gotten better and better and better. And honestly, you reach a point in your life where, honestly, you just don't give a crap anymore. And now your body has gone to crap, but c'est la vie. So you do you. You be patient. Pat Flynn again, you do you. Be patient. You're only in your 20s. And I'm talking not only to Valentine, but all to the young woodworkers out there. And for you older woodworkers, hopefully you can find and encourage a younger woodworker, because I remember when I was thinking about doing this type of thing, I was in my early 30s, and I found some woodworkers who were doing this professionally, and quite frankly, I would bug the crap out of them. And whenever they hand you a piece of sandpaper, you know that their patience has kind of run out, and either you produce something or it's time to leave. Now, regarding your work, you didn't mention this, but I see a lot of woodworkers doing this. Never point out mistakes, especially to your customers. And if you have a significant other, a spouse, they can be an incredible resource for kind of like the second pair of eyes for you, but you're going to probably have to teach them what a mistake looks like. And just be forewarned, once you teach them, they will feel obligated to share that on everything that you do. You are literally putting the product in the box to ship it, and they come up and say, what happened here? Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. Oh, crap. Which is good. This is wonderful. They prevented you from shipping something that you probably didn't want to ship. But, you've been working on this thing and your eyes kind of glaze over. I mean, it happens. So it's wonderful to have that second pair of eyes, but just be forewarned that you got a second pair of eyes. Another thing is never apologize for your work. And I've done this myself, and I've learned not to do this. If you've worked on something and the customer comes in and says, oh, that's wonderful, that's gorgeous, oh, just look at this. Yeah, but right over here, I didn't make this joint as tight as it really could have been. Don't do that. Number one, your customer has no idea if that's a tight joint or not. And number two, you're taking away from their experience. And we've got to remember that when somebody has come to you to build a piece of custom furniture, not only are they buying that piece of custom furniture, but they're also buying the experience. Some gals do a wonderful job, much better than I do, in including the customer in the design process. They will send them Instagram updates. I don't know how to do that. I've selected the wood. I have planed the wood. I have done this. I have done that. And they really, really like that. They think that that's cool. You've involved them in the process. I tell my customers when it's due that I'm not done yet, and when I do expect to get it done. I'm getting better. No, I'm not. Okay, I gotta be honest. So don't take away from their experience. Don't go around pointing out all the little tiny minute errors that you may have committed, or you think in your brain you have committed. If they love it, let them love it. Don't bash your own stuff. Don't bash other people's things either. Point out things that you really love about the piece. Contribute to that experience that the customer is paying you good money for. When they say, oh, this is just beautiful, add, I know, look at this grain right over here. I have never seen this type of grain before. This is just gorgeous. Oh, that is. Oh my gosh. Someday at a cocktail party in the future, that person is going to pass on to their guest, yeah, I didn't even notice this until the craftsman pointed it out to me. Look at this grain right here. Boom, you have added to the story. That's what we're all about. Tell them how much you enjoyed making this. Don't be one of those people that's like, oh God, I'm so glad this is finally over. I had so many problems with this thing. Oh, let me help you take it out to your car. No, don't destroy their moment. Don't take away from their story. Add to it. And, yes, I really enjoyed this. Okay, here's the thing. This was a real challenge for me, and I learned so many things from this. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. So you got that off your chest in a nice way that actually has added to the story. There you go. These are all like salesman 101 type techniques, which Yeah, salesmanship. Yeah, that's kind of a dying art form, isn't it? Maybe there's an episode there. I'll give that some thought. So take your wins when you can get them. Your brain is telling you or trying to tell you that you're just an imposter. Just tell your brain to go bugger off. When a customer says, I really like this, take that. That was a compliment. Feed that part of your ego, your psyche, whatever it is, and enjoy it. Take it in. When someone pays you a compliment, be gracious about that. This is a human interaction technique, and between one human to another. Don't turn it into something that it's not. Don't let that pissy side of your brain, try to turn it into something that it literally is not. When somebody asks your opinion, that is a tremendous compliment. They think that you have something that they don't, and they're trying to learn from you. This is a wonderful thing to take in and to savor. I certainly do, and I appreciate every single one of you who have reached out with a question or a comment. Here's the kicker. When someone gives you money, this is a good thing. This is a very, very good thing, because they probably came, by that money, by the sweat of their brow, hard earned, and now they are willing to share that with you in exchange for something, for a goods or a service that you have provided them. That is a tremendous compliment. So take that with a great big smile. Okay, what about the jerks? Yeah, there's going to be jerks out there. It can happen. To be really honest with you, I've never had a jerk walk into my shop and, start, being a jerk. The only time I've really ever encountered them are at craft shows. Not that craft shows are bad, but craft shows attract a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of different people. And some of them are just a little weird. I can remember a few instances that I have had. It was very obvious that the person was kind of reaching out in a very awkward way to try to engage another human. And a conversation 30 seconds in, you can tell that they're having some problems. And instead of, firing back at them in something negative, and like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but if you can kind of engage them in what they do, why they do it, if they are real critical of something, well, how would you do that? That can open up, a conversation. Don't go too deep, because very often these people have found somebody who's actually willing to talk to them, and they may be there for another 2 hours. And you're trying to, make money by engaging in a lot of conversations and selling things. Because remember, there's no sale without a conversation. Salesmanship 101. So, you have to kind of be on your guard there, but probably firing back at them is the very worst thing, because a lot of times this is how they live. These are the trolls that you get on the internet. They're there just to try to get a reaction out of somebody because, quite frankly, they're not interacting with anyone. One of the tenets of salesmanship is be an expert to a novice and helpful to an expert. And if someone is coming off as an expert, which they very well may be helpful to them. And one of the ways you can be helpful to them is start picking their brain. And if you get just a few sentences into it and you can figure out that, this person knows what they're talking about. Oh my gosh, you've got to dive in there with both feet, because they probably have information that could be really, really helpful to you. And you can learn a lot by talking to other people who have an expertise that you don't. Recommendations for this week: Valentine's Instagram. account. I hope you all have a chance to go visit that, maybe leave a nice comment on it. I was super impressed. I really was. Missed jobs. This has come up more frequently over the last couple of years. Can you build a set of custom speakers for me? We don't really think about it, but speakers are made of wood, always, I think. Now, I know a lot of speakers may be made out of like MDF, something that is acoustically dead. But I helped a gentleman, a young guy, very talented electronics engineer, who designed all of his own electronics for the speaker, but he needed help building the actual cabinets. And he was able to find, in 400 miles away, some Baltic birch that he had shipped. Honestly, it was just a real pleasure working with Baltic birch again, because it hasn't been around for a couple years. And the project went very, very well. He actually wanted to do a lot of the work himself, which, hey, I'm cool with that. But this guy is just flat out, here's my design, can you build this? And I had to turn it down. But consider that maybe as a niche. And I don't have that acoustic, what do they call that, audiophile mindset to really understand a lot of the things that are going on. But maybe if you do, maybe you're a musician, which you probably know a whole bunch about this, that might be a thing for you. You know, custom speakers is a thing. So give that some thought. I'd like to thank our listeners in Muskegon, Michigan, as well as Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. And on my stats for the podcast, I found that it will list countries such as we have listeners from Kazakhstan. Thank you very much. Welcome. But I can't actually find the city, town that they live in. The way the stats are presented, it doesn't break it down that finely. So, and quite honestly, I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce the name from Kazakhstan anyway. So, but anyway, I'm going to throw those extra ones in that it's lacking the detail, but it does show up on the stats. Really appreciate that. Be sure to check out the affiliate links. There is an affiliate link for what I think is a real good option if you're looking for phone service for your small business. And of course, there's Taylor Tools that offer some very, very good tools at what I think are very reasonable prices. I'm very impressed with them. So until next time, happy woodworking.